the static clears. Unwanted brotherhood of tears. Grief can weigh us down alone, but here we find a common home. The voices speak to heart and soul. In darker times they make us whole. Through Jesus' light we find our way. In every night there comes a day. From shadows to the dawn we rise. Hope reflected in our...
Welcome to Unwanted Fraternity, the podcast. Greg Tonkinson here, along with my wife and co-host Jen Tonkinson at Tonks Pub. Love Tonks Pub for the ambience, for the environment, but primarily for the conversation. Also want to give a huge shout out to the Herzog Foundation. We have been partnering with the Herzog Foundation with our podcast, Unwanted Fraternity, along with our sister podcast, Melior, the podcast, for, it's been about a few months now. Mm-hmm. And we couldn't be more excited, happier. It is unbelievable, the partnership, primarily because what we do, we're like little cogs in the big wheel. There are a number of podcasts out there that the Herzog Foundation has on their platform, herzogfoundation.com/podcasts. And every one of them is suited for Christian educators, youth pastors, parents that are at home, that anyone that has an influence on the next generation that wants to access some resources and tools to help them equip this next generation to be culture changers for Christ. And so if that's you, and for most of us it is, head on over to herzogfoundation.com/podcasts.
Well, Greg, we're back again talking about blended families and marriage and family. And we spent the last two episodes talking about our dating and dating again after we had gone through our grief.
Yeah.
And this time we are going to jump into, okay, you've made the decision to get married. So how do you do that well when you have children involved and you're sharing households? Now, just to say up front, Greg and I did not share households because, as you've listened to in the other podcast, my ex-husband lived out of the country, and then Greg had lost his wife. And so we did not have that opportunity to share households, but we've definitely heard stories about the difficulties and the good parts about that. There are some great parts that come out of that for families too.
Name 3.
We'll get to that. So, but I have heard positive stories. So we just thought it'd be really helpful to just jump into what do you do next after you've dated, you've fallen in love, you've had the beautiful wedding?
Yeah. And again, this is God. Our podcast, Unwanted Fraternity, is centered around authentic healing through Jesus Christ. And so we unashamedly promote that. And this is a God thing where, God puts not just, if you're walking with him and you want to find out answers to other things, right? Often we just don't go to God with our list and say, okay, I've got these 7 questions I need answered. Rather, I think the more biblical approach is just fall in love with Jesus and walk with him. And then by his timing, he will have you cross paths with his word, with wise counsel, with family members, and you talk about the same things, and all of a sudden the light bulb goes on. It's like, I can't believe, it's like deja vu, or it's like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about this. And so the other day, Jen and I are talking to our favorite child, Malia, and I say that tongue in cheek, but with every tongue in cheek, there's kind of this underlying truth. And so it is what it is. And so I was talking to Malia. She's our only daughter. And so we have 4 boys and a girl. And we were talking about this issue of dating and getting married. And again, different context, because Malia was using our relationship. I think you were using our relationship. And then I was looking at a 21-year-old, and those are 2 very, very different scenarios. Getting married when you're 40, as we talked about last episode, and getting married for the first time when you're 20 or, 20-something. But I will say that there are some common features to both scenarios. And one of them is what I would deem as an end date to dating. And what I mean by that is I just don't see a tremendous amount of value in dating for 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years without looking at that person thinking, one of you thinking, okay, what's the holdup? Like, why aren't we married at this point? Or coming up with rationale or excuses as to why we need to go yet another year of dating. And my primary challenge to Malia and my concern when I hear about people either on their second marriage or third marriage or first marriage where we've been dating for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years is your exclusive dating, especially in American culture, is often reminiscent of marriage. That the exclusivity piece, along with the commitment piece, equals marriage without the physical blessings of a marriage. And again, as followers of Jesus, we look at the Bible and we look at what God's word has to say about sexual happenings outside of the bounds of marriage, and there are seemingly very few moments for intimacy, physical intimacy outside of the bounds of marriage. And so now you have this dating couple, and I don't care if you're 21 or 41, that you've gone through, you know, the hey, we're dating now. You've made that official. You've declared it to everyone. Great. And the argument is we're doing this so we can get to know each other, right? That we're being exclusive so we can, I guess, so we can spend time together. And again, Malia, I thought Malia had an astute answer, which was the reason we're exclusive is because we like each other. And this is kind of the next step in liking each other, which is let's spend more time together. And I think even by being exclusive, you're communicating to everyone out there, hey, I'm taken. Like, you know, I'm not available anymore.
Right.
Okay. Well, you explain to me then, what is the difference between that and marriage? Like, married people wear rings. Why? To tell other people I'm not available anymore. Marriage people, like the village people, married people have exclusivity. Why? Because that's how God designed it. One man, one woman, and you shall leave your father and mother and cleave to your wife. So I see great parallels between American 21st century dating and marriage, with the exception of, at midnight, I've got to go home, or we can't go as far as we would both like to go physically. Okay, so ask yourself this, and I think my backing is the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 7. Hey, I would just assume you'd be single so you can devote more of your time to the Lord, but for most of you, you burn with passions, you burn with desires, and you should be married. And he drives home the point of eros, that the love you have, the erotic love you have for one another, the physical, intimate love you have for one another, how long can you withstand that with someone that you're super really attracted to? And what I told Malia to end this little point is, the more you're exclusive, the longer you go in that exclusivity, the more in love you should become. And the more in love you become, the more tempted you are to enjoy that love, not just emotionally or spiritually, but physically. And yet we're then surrounding these either young couples or older couples and saying, yeah, well, you can't do that. Like for you and me, it was, you're not going to move in together. You're not going to live together. Why? Because I can build an incredible argument about the savings financially, the savings time-wise, Like there's a number of reasons. And all I would have to say is, oh no, we're moving in for pure reasons. And everyone on the planet that loves the Lord would look at that and say, no, you're moving in so that you can be close to one another at 11:30 at night on the couch and just go upstairs. That's why you're moving in together. It's convenient because you two are madly in love and you want to spend time physically with each other. Like that's just the bottom line. So what's the answer then?
Let's push back for just a second. So
go ahead.
I pushed back with Malia because I don't understand let's the scenario. You and I are our second attempt at marriage. I mean, at dating.
Second attempt?
No. Okay. Sorry. I didn't rephrase that correctly.
We've been married for 12 years.
No. Okay. So you and I are starting to date back in the day. Okay.
The second
take
time.
You and I. Yes. But we've been married before. Okay.
Yeah.
Not us together, but two other people. Okay.
Oh.
Are you following?
Oh, you're creating a scenario.
Oh my gosh, I'm creating a scenario.
All right, I'm tracking.
Okay. At that time that we began to date, are you suggesting to our listeners, because that's that's our age group right now,
right?
That they need to have a pool of people to date for a certain time period, and then they need to pick a person and date that person for a short amount of time, then get married?
Oh, I see.
It's like, I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
so
I understand what you mean by
I can't just walk up to you while my listeners, listen, he's a hottie, and I did want to marry him when I met him, but I really was smitten. Anyway. But no, it's like, do I walk up to you and say, hi, I'm Jen. We've been online for a couple of weeks and you seem like a marriable type. So let's go ahead and move forward with marriage. I mean, is that what you're proposing in a very obviously extreme way? Right.
And no. And so what I'm proposing is the way that we meet people is varied. There's no one way to meet someone. We met online. People meet in class. People meet at the DMV. People meet in bars. People meet all over the place. Yes. There is, though, a universal acknowledgement that I saw him across the way and my heart pitter-pattered. She gave me the time of day and now I'm madly in love, right? And we would admit that's infatuation. That is the beginning of why does my heart feel a certain way toward this person but not toward other people? Mm-hmm. Because I saw other people across the way and my heart just didn't do anything, right? And so there is this beginning moment of there is a person that I am attracted to. And that could be the 360 kind of attraction, not just physical attraction, but emotional attraction and spiritual. And again, that can happen because you spent time in a group setting. Maybe it was a college Bible study, co-ed college Bible study. Maybe you were on a summer trip and two families and, the older kids, were friends for a long time, family friends, and now all of a sudden there's this weird, hey, I think I like that person. Mm-hmm. For you and me, it was, we got to know each other for a few weeks online. Then it was time for the face-to-face. Mm-hmm. And so there's a beginning point for every relationship. Would it be ideal to get to know that person in a group setting or in a casual environment before you start exclusively dating? Absolutely. I mean, just, that would be
really
common
unrealistic.
Sense.
Honestly, in our day and age, it's really hard to do that.
I disagree. The number of opportunities, unless you live in a closet,
or unless
you live at home and you're doing online schooling, but even then, you work part time or you have
but you're very limited to that environment. Yeah, you do have access, but I just think I thought,
but again, and that's where we've had people on the show that are singles. And they, to your point, will admit, hey, sometimes it really is hard to meet people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's fine. Then join a club, join a group, join some sort of a dating service, whatever you want to do. If your intention is, I want to meet someone for the sake of exclusive dating and into marriage. Mm-hmm. However you start that process, we've all had those feelings, even as early as high school, where it's like, this person has captured my heart.
Right.
That's fine. What I'm suggesting is, once that has occurred, you need to surround yourself with God, obviously, and wise counsel, so that you can walk into this relationship, quote unquote, exclusive, with other people, and they should do the same. Why? Because a bunch of cliches here, but the scales get on our eyes, cover our eyes, like our heart leads before our head leads, like a whole bunch of reasons why we do really stupid things when we're falling in love with someone, because they've captured our heart. And this wise counsel steps into your life and says, hey, love the fact that you're falling in love with this person, and here's some things I'm seeing, and here's some blind spots. Or, no, man, it like green light this thing, like it is going crazy. What I am suggesting is, what we did was horrifically bad in terms of proposing and getting engaged 6 weeks after we met each other.
I agree. I wouldn't suggest that.
Correct.
For anyone.
But why?
Because we were infatuated with each other.
Because we're infatuated. And I would say even that there was an element of love there.
Yes.
But my point to Malia a couple days ago, and my point to people that are dating now exclusively, is, if you haven't done the cycle as an exclusive couple, that to me is step one. And what I mean by the cycle is a full calendar year. If you have not done a full calendar year together, I would highly suggest doing a full calendar year as an exclusive couple. All the birthdays, all the holidays, all the seasons. And if you're in Arizona, there's one season, but for the rest of the country, there's
two.
4
we
seasons.
We have a great winter.
We have hot and really hot.
No, we have a great winter.
And the reason I say that is because, Jen, as old as we are, man, the rhythm of a year is very cyclical, in the sense of like the same holidays come up, the same birthdays come up, but it's also evident of who you are in that particular time of the year. And until you experience that with someone, Christmas is my favorite holiday, and that person goes like nutso, and you weren't aware of that. Or like, so in my case, March is a really difficult month for me. Mm-hmm. Well, if you hadn't experienced that, where we're dating and it's all fun and butterflies and popcorn, and then March rolls around and I nosedive into introspection and quiet and reflective. I'm at the cemetery a couple days a week, like all of that can hit differently. And I'm just simply saying, hey, wait till April then. Wait till May, where I come out of that, mm-hmm. and it's a little different. And so when you do a full calendar year with someone that you genuinely care about, you get such a great perspective on, oh, that's who that person is. Because I can bet you dollars for donuts that if that person is jacked up about Christmas, a year later, they're going to be jacked up about Christmas again. If that person just geeks out on making a turkey and stuffing, a year later, they're going to be geeked out on making a turkey and stuffing again. Give it a year. Like, let that happen. So
your advice is, don't just jump into a relationship because you're infatuated or you think you're in love. Wait the whole full year to experience that. That's what you're trying to say right now.
No, what I'm saying is we always jump into a relationship. Like, very few of us are like, I'm just like absolutely crazy about this person. I'm going to give it a year before I talk to them about date. No, like none of us do that.
No.
I'm saying once you get into a relationship, exclusive, now work through a calendar year together as a couple.
What if you get to the end of the calendar year and you realize, I don't want to marry this person?
Break up with them.
I know.
Like,
I thought your argument was only date to marry.
Correct. And after a calendar year, for whatever reason,
You'll know if that person.
you'll know.
Okay,
like,
I see what you're saying.
And I don't think you'll know like beyond a shadow of a doubt based on our divorce rate, but I think you'll know better than 2 months in. Then, hey, we had, and this is why again, like Jen and I are both educators, and I'm at the up at the high school, Jen's at the junior high, and I see all of these high school kids, especially juniors and seniors, and it's just like they act married, like they act like we're a married couple. And I'm looking at their age thinking, how long is that going to last? Because my second point is give it a calendar year. My second point is don't give it 3 calendar years.
I see what
Like,
you're
don't give
saying.
it
Like,
4
so don't start
calendar
so
years.
young that you.
Because what else are you going to learn?
Yeah.
Like you've done a cycle
Can't
together.
get married
And I
that
would
young.
say, okay, if you want to run that back and do 2 years together, okay, whatever. If you miss something on the first year or whatever, that's fine. But after 2 years of dating and all of the family and all the calendar events and all the holidays and all the birthdays, what else is there? There are, and if you argue, well, financially, we're just not in the right place, or work-wise, we're not in the right place. You and I, it's like the same argument with having kids. When are you ever ready to have a kid? And I would argue the same for marriage. When are you ever rich enough to have to get married? When are you ever in a stable, quote unquote? Now, can you be more stable? Maybe. But if you say, well, we're 24 or 23, we're going to wait till we're 26. What you're doing, and again, may lose some listeners here, but I'll say it anyway. I think you're close to like telling God, here's the way this is going to go down. And God may say, that's kind of funny from my perspective, because in a year, you're going to go through this. Or in a year, you're going to be blessed by this. Or, whatever it may be. But when we look at it from our perspective, we think we know exactly when it should happen. And I would say this. Second point is don't give it 3 calendar years. I think 2 is plenty. My third point is, but you better be ready then after that second calendar year to make some big fat commitment or break up. So when you look at a senior in high school, when you look at a junior in high school, and if you're according to my theory, you're pushing that out to what, sophomore year of college? I don't know too many, though there are some, because we're going to get feedback. We got married when we were 14 and we're still in love. Okay, great. You're the anomaly. But for the majority of people, ladies, honestly, look at 18 to 20-year-old boys and ask yourself, is he ready to get married?
Absolutely not.
And it's absolutely not, right? So if you start dating at 18, how long is this going to go before you actually pull the trigger? And what my fear is, and the reason we were telling Malia this, and she's 20, is I think you can start too early in this whole process.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of date till you die because you learn a lot. Like I hear that and it makes my stomach turn. Keep dating because you keep learning every time you date. Yeah. And
date many people? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry?
Date a lot of people?
No, that's
that's
exact opposite of what I'm saying.
No, you're saying to date. I'm sorry. We had that conversation as well with her. Like,
yeah, that's what she was saying.
Date different people.
Hey, date exclusively as many people as you want because every time you learn something.
Yes, I see.
It's the whole learning thing.
Yeah.
The reason we're dating, like heartbreak is so good. Why? Because I learned something. Yeah, you know what you learned is Kleenex boxes only have so many Kleenexes in them. You learned the price of counseling.
Okay.
You learned that your best friends can only hear you whine so many times. Like you learn a lot of things. I'm not sure that it's so profitable that we need to push our young people into, no, keep doing that. Like, keep getting your heart just mushed and broken and ripped apart. That's fun. That's not fun. And again, it is what it is. Like, I'm not going to die over this. I would just, this is human wisdom. But I really do think that the Bible moves us in a direction of when you're giving your heart to someone, you better be doing it for the right reasons. And I think the right reason is, I think there's potential here for us to become husband and wife. if you start dating and you see no potential, like red flags are popping up all over the place, it may be an awkward conversation, but you got to break that off.
Yeah, that would be probably more the people who are our listeners, is like they're trying to date again.
Right.
And they already have their list because they've already been through whatever with the other relationship. And so...
Well, and here's the danger with second marriages is not only is there baggage, as we talked about last episode, but your heart is in such a different place because it has been broken and bruised and beat up, and there's been distrust, and there's been disappointment, and there's been heartache, like deep, deep, deep heartache. So then this new person comes along, and now your heart has almost been revived, like electroshocked into, oh my gosh, I can actually love again. And I'm not just talking about divorces. I'm talking about like when Leanne passed away, same thing with me. Like when you showed up 2.5 years, 3 years later, my heart was at a place of, this is horrible. Like I'm dead inside kind of a feeling. You show up and it's like, oh my goodness, what is this feeling? And the challenge I have for second marriages is, man, you got to pump those brakes by way of not the 2-year time calendar thing I just mentioned. I think that still stands. I mean, you better open your relationship up to everyone around you. Wise counsel, family members, pastors, girls get girlfriends around, guys get guy friends around. Have a lot of people speak into your life, because there is such a temptation to make a really, really bad decision because your heart is wanting something that all of our hearts want. But like the Bible says, the heart is deceitful, and it will lead you down a path that may not be the best for your situation.
I think I agree with that. Be slow to be fully committed. Take your time. Seek wise counsel. Have a lot of people around you looking in, because it is very deceiving, especially when you haven't had that spark inside of like, wow, somebody likes me, as we talked about last episode.
Right.
And now you're really enjoying that feeling. It was hard getting into the dating scene again. And I don't want to belabor this, I think, because we've talked a little bit about it, but just thinking, well, I want something completely different. So now you're trying to date different people than you would have dated a long time ago. I mean, it's been 16 years for me. So that's also a pitfall as well, because you can end up dating absolutely the wrong person for you, because you think you have to go a fully different route than you had before too. So,
and the bottom line is, honestly, not to be, cliche here, but if you're not bathing this in prayer, if you're not walking close with the Lord, and this is true for any decision, not just dating, if you're making decisions that are significant and you're far from the Lord, and again, that can be because of your situation. Like you're angry, you're bitter, you're doubtful, and you haven't spent time with God personally. You haven't been in His Word. You haven't been to church in a long time. And then you make this decision, like, I'm going to start dating this person, or I'm going to change jobs, or I'm going to make this financial decision or whatever. Like, I would really caution against that. This is again why we invite wise counsel into our lives, because wise counsel, if they're worth their salt, will come alongside and say, hey, I'm noticing this pattern, or I'm noticing these decisions. What does God have to say about this? Well, I've been spending time with him. I'm still angry at him. I'm still, doubtful or whatever. And then but I want him to bless this decision. Well, that's just not the way God works. Like God doesn't, it's like the kid who never studies and prays for an A on the exam. It doesn't work that way, right? So before you get into an exclusive relationship, before you sell your house, before you move states to take another job, just the tried and true, pray about it, be in the Word of God, seek wise counsel, and then make the decision that's best for you. That would apply to dating as well.
Right. I think if I could go back again and look at our relationship, I would, with the wisdom that I have now and the experience, I would slow down tremendously.
Yeah.
I would spend more time with God at the very beginning. Like, how am I supposed to approach this relationship? I was very, taken on, like, swept me off my feet.
Yeah,
And,
right.
I did have a relationship with God. I was praying. I prayed for you to be in my life. I wanted
exactly.
that, but it was, very difficult to stay focused on the Lord and have this new relationship. So my advice to those of you who are really thinking like, hey, I want to be exclusive with this person. 100%. You need to have pump the brakes and spend time with God, because he is your first love. He is
Absolutely.
supposed to be your first love.
And again, if it's meant to be, I think Jen and my relationship is a perfect example where, in spite of our efforts to thwart the relationship, to torpedo the relationship, God said, no, like this is going to happen. And so even through a broken engagement, even through really, really difficult conversations, even through a season where we broke up and didn't spend time together, listen, if God is in this, he will do his part by way of allowing those feelings to still remain. Mm-hmm. And I think, we reach a point where it's like, it's not that I can't live without you, because I think we can live without anyone. It's you make this whole thing better, mm-hmm. right? You make my life better. You make my kids' life better. You make everything better. And so I want to move forward with this.
Right.
But it becomes a little less romantic, and that's okay, when it becomes a little more practical and logistic, and that's okay. Don't lose the feelings. The feelings are fun. The feelings are great. It was so fun to get your texts and to think about dates, and that's so enjoyable. That's part of the process. Mm-hmm. Don't let that drive the process, though.
Right. That's good advice. Well, how about this? Why don't we wrap this episode up of okay, you're going to jump into an exclusive relationship.
Yeah.
This is where our listeners are if you're listening in. And then the next episode, let's talk about how, what do you do when you are married and you now have to set up new boundaries and new house rules, and you've got kids running around that are not your biological children. What do you do about that? So
Blended families. 101.
Yes, we'll give our 2 cents worth and some experts as well. So thanks for listening today on the Unwanted Fraternity. We are so grateful for your continued support. If you'd like to reach us at any time, you can go on our website at unwantedfraternity.com. We are on social media with Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, so reach out through direct messaging on that. And stay tuned for next week's episode as we talk a little bit more about this blended family 101 stuff. Remember that you are not alone.
Turn on the mic, the static clears. Unwanted brotherhood of tears. Grief can weigh us down alone, but here we find a common home. The voices speak to heart and soul. In darker times they make us whole. Through Jesus' light we find our way. In every night, there comes a day. From shadows